the first thing I'm going to do is make a copy of this layer so I can work on that. I'm just going to click on this background layer. I can right click and just go duplicate layer. Just click on that. It's going to ask me to name it. I'm just going to leave that for now. I can also click and drag to this plus sign or down here on the bottom right, and that will also duplicate the layer. Control Z to undo that. I can also click on this stack line here, this little hamburger, and if I go to the top of that menu, you'll see duplicate layer. So just many ways to do the same thing. And once I have this background layer selected, I'm going to add a mask to it because I want to isolate part of it. So I'm just going to click on, down at the bottom on right, you'll see this little rectangle with the circle cut out of it. It's just add layer mask. And you'll see this white rectangle linked to the main layer, that layer that we've just used. And now I can operate on this mask. And this is just a way of kind of showing and hiding different parts of my layer without deleting or getting rid of it, so it's non-destructive. So if I don't see properties, go ahead and go to Windows and Properties, and that will bring up this panel. And I'm going to go to Color Range, and I'm going to select a color in here. So I'm just going to select one of these colors of these. So I'm just going to select the green here and see what that looks like. And I'm going to try to add a little bit more to it. When the stem comes in, it's a little bit darker, so it's not picking up that color. It's just a totally different color, so that's okay. And that looks pretty good. I can crank up the fuzziness to see if that will, I don't want to do that. I could lower it down, see that gets rid of it, so just somewhere in the midpoint, but I don't want to bring in any other colors. I just want this green, and even the greens of the stems, I don't want those in there. It looks pretty good. I've got that in there. Once I've got what I want, I can just go ahead and hit OK. And what I really want to do, this is flip this, so to do that I can click on Invert. And if you don't see this, you might have to kind of open up your channel a little bit more, just kind of drag down the layer channels a little bit so you can see this. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Invert. So now most of the image is white, and it's just that little bit that's kind of mostly black here. And when I apply any operation now, it's going to operate on, it's going to kind of leave that black part alone and operate on just the white part of the mask. So I'm going to click on the layer itself. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Black and White. This will automatically apply this filter to it, and you can see everything but that green part has been affected. And I can just play around with some of the values to see, just kind of change that around a little bit. I'll make it a little darker, and we'll lighten it up a little bit, and this will all just affect the colors that are in there, but leaving this part alone. I could change the overall tint just by clicking on this box here, and this is my main color, but I can just kind of scroll through the hue and you can see what colors it can change to, kind of like that. And I'm just going to see if I can get rid of that darkness a little bit in some of those. So that got rid of that one. And let's see if I can just tweak that a little bit. I don't want to really mess with the green. Oops, way too dark. Okay, good. Yeah, that's nice. So I can go ahead and hit OK. And now I've got this, maybe it's too much, maybe I don't like the effect, it's kind of a little bit overdone. I could always go back into my layer here and just change the opacity, kind of dial back the effect a little bit, make it a little less visible, and kind of bring in the original look to it. So you can see that's the original, and then the effect on top of it. And I can just dial up or down how much of the effect I'm seeing. So this is at 100%, and then this is at 0%. So that's back to the original, basically. I'm just going to bring that up to 100 again so you can see that. And you can see now I've got my effect with a little tint on top of it. If I don't like this, I can get rid of some things here. So I can start off by trying to get rid of my mask here. So I'm just going to click and drag that mask to the trash can. And I don't want to apply the mask before removing it. I don't want to do anything else. I'm just going to go ahead and hit delete. So now I've gotten rid of the mask. Now that effect is still there. Now it's done the black and white effect on the entire image. I don't have that mask in there, but I have this layer that's got the entire effect on it. So I can also just see what that looks like if I just kind of dial that back down in here. But there's no color splash. I can't really isolate a color this way. So I can also just drag this layer to the trash and just kind of start over again. So I can just click here, go to the plus sign, make a duplicate layer, click on that layer again, and I'm just repeating exactly what I did before. So I'm just going to create a layer mask, and on that layer mask I'm going to go to color range, and this time I'm going to select a different color here. So I'm just going to select the red and hold down the plus sign or shift key to add to this range a little bit, and just play around with the fuzziness slightly so I can kind of increase that a little bit. I don't want to go too much, picking up some of the orange in here. So I'm just going to lower that down a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead now and hit OK. I'm going to flip that just like I did before. And go to make sure I've got the layer selected. Go to Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And now I just kind of isolated that red color out. So if I start playing around with some of those values, you can see how I can change that around. I'm going to hit OK. And if it's too dark or the effect is a little bit too much, I can just select that layer again and just dial down the opacity. Just kind of bring it in a little bit, and you can see what the original looks like compared to the effect.